Regressor of the Fallen Family. Chapter 28. The main force and the head of the house, Patrick McLaine, arrive at Teslon Castle. It was 2 days later that the main force of the McLaine family and the head of the family, Patrick McLaine, arrived at Teslon Castle. Upon his arrival, Patrick immediately heard about the matters Logan had taken care of and called him over without delay. Haman committed suicide? His tone was laced with disbelief, as if he had heard something utterly preposterous. Yet Logan looked brazenly at his father. Yes, it seems he was overwhelmed with despair. Did you kill him? On the defensive. No. Seeing his son's eyes wandering off distantly, Patrick let out a long sigh. Ha! And of course his sons all happened to die in a duel with you? They challenged me to a duel for insulting me without knowing their place. Had the dead ones, who pleaded in a voice begging for noble treatment, heard this, they would have turned in their graves. Is this an issue for a force user against a commoner? Honor has nothing to do with the force. Ugh, Logan, you can tell me the truth. After groans as if suppressing a tumult of thoughts and a long sigh, Patrick looked at the changed expression in his son's eyes, and Logan calmly revealed the real reason. Yes, I killed them on purpose. Why? The Teslon territory must once again fall under our McLaine control. I did not wish to keep the bloodline alive and leave room for discord. Didn't you ever think about keeping them alive and using them as subjects? Yes. Patrick frowned for a moment at Logan's terse reply. However, he did not admonish or rage as he had done before. Through the recent war, he had clearly come to realize that his eldest son had grown out of his reach and was of age to have his own thoughts. His methods might be excessive, but he must have had his reasons. The change in his thoughts was truly inconceivable compared to a few days ago. Despite the cold shoulder and the disregard, the son who protected the family was worthy of such trust. Now there were more pressing matters at hand than to brood over such trivial problems. A long sigh was all that could replace the words of disappointment unspoken. All right, I understand. Go inside. Any other matters? I have gathered all the valuables, including jewelry, in one place. As for other matters, I have instructed Teslon's administrators to prepare a report. The administrators? 12 in total. I didn't bother with the administrative managers that we might need. Good, well done. The Baron and his son, the leaders of the invasion, entered the Great Hall of Teslon Castle to review their accomplishments. The McLane's forces returned to their home castle a mere week after the war had begun. The actual war had ended in just 1 day, so the time taken to travel to and from Teslon territory was effectively the entire duration of the conflict. Nevertheless, the territory's people cheered for the returning soldiers, as if hailing war heroes who had come back after several years. Long live the McLaine family! Long live Patrick McLaine! Endless cheers arose from people embracing their safely returned heads of families or sons, tears of joy streaming down their faces. Given that the war had started from a place of despair, the taste of victory was all the sweeter. Amongst these cheers, a dissonant cry of celebration reached Logan's ears. Long live young Lord Logan! Startled by the unexpected cheers, Logan waved his hand in surprise. It's only been a few days. He was a little taken aback by the rapid changes, but rumors had already spread far and wide. Young Lord Logan had made the greatest contribution in the war. Initially, many didn't believe it, but the testimonies from their returning families only amplified the rumors. The bad talk that had built up around Logan gradually faded away, replaced by accolades that even he found embarrassing. Genius, insight, and astonishing martial might, a talent unmatched in the world. Past rumors about his eccentric behavior were now understood as quirks of a misunderstood genius, and the rumors of his former misdeeds were absurdly repackaged, as Logan having acted to hide his own brilliance. During the triumphant parade, Logan's face turned red as he heard these ridiculously fabricated praises. Brother, how does it feel? Everyone is praising you. Praise? What nonsense. My face feels like it's on fire. You should moderate too, Ronian. His words were sincere. After all, the credits he gained were based almost solely on his knowledge of the future. To have all of them attributed to his innate talent made even someone as thick-skinned as him slightly embarrassed. But Logan couldn't help but smile with genuine satisfaction for a reason of his own. I always knew you would accomplish great things, young Lord Logan. From a soldier to a personal attendant, Rick, it's as if young Lord Logan himself claimed victory. The head of the knightly order, Heinkel, who was usually so laconic. That's right, young Lord Logan. This victory belongs to you. None of the knights nearby refuted the overly enthusiastic praise. A life of being pointed at and chased away in his previous life, and his once collapsed family. The two pains from his past were resolved. His heart felt lighter, and restraining the pride that naturally swelled appeared challenging. Calm down, stay composed. The future is even more. Even as he tried to reassure himself, the delighted smile on Logan's face was beyond his control. Show everyone who truly earned the greatest merit in this war. Wow. At the shout of one of the knights, the others flocked toward Logan. Then the celebratory tossing began. Long live young Lord Logan. Hooray! Cheers echoed to the sky, and amidst the pleasant gaze of the territory's people, a delighted, unrestrained laugh burst from Logan. Ha 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 ha. After the boisterous welcoming ceremony had concluded, the key figures of the territory gathered in the meeting room. Heinkel alone represented the knights in place of the 5 commanders left to temporarily manage the Teslon territory. Dwayne, the financial officer among the 5 administrators, was also in attendance. Then there were the people of the McLaine family. Excluding Marianne with her dismal expression, everyone in the upbeat atmosphere listened as Patrick proclaimed, "Let us now begin honoring those who contributed to the campaign. Dwayne." "Yes, I will report the outcomes." Dwayne reported the spoils of war with a poised voice. The remaining funds of the Teslon territory amounted to 4.32 million gold, about 1 million gold's worth of jewelry, and grains worth an estimated 300,000 gold. Not to mention Teslon Castle in the territory, nearly 500 hectares, 5 kilometers of plains. This was the massive tangible gain the McLaine family had procured from the war. That's all. Whoa! Cheers erupted as Dwayne finished speaking. It seems the Teslon family had much more money than we had anticipated. With satisfaction at Dwayne's additional remarks, Patrick continued calmly. Everyone has worked hard. Now let's decide on the rewards. First, the merits of the knights were discussed. Since they were the clan's primary force, rewarding them was expected. However, what was surprising was that even the administrative officers who didn't participate in the battle received some compensation. This was to foster a sense of unity among the clan members, but also as a preemptive reward for the enormous post-war administrative work they would undertake. Nevertheless, none of these rewards compared to the gains they had secured. Although Heinkel's reward of 50,000 gold seemed considerably large, the total rewards for everyone did not exceed 500,000 gold. Considering the resources expended during the war and the future expenditures, this was a small sum. War consumes resources, it does not create them. Considering the budget required for Teslon Castle alone, they might be short of funds until the autumn harvest, or maybe even until next year. At least everyone gathered there recognized this. Once those minor rewards were settled, the actual purpose of the meeting unfolded. Everyone here is aware that this war was not won by the strength of the knights or me, but by the strength of another. Despite the absence of any direct mention, everyone's gaze shifted to one person. The eyes of Heinkel and others who had been on the battlefield were full of goodwill, while the looks from the managers who stayed behind still harbored doubt. Really? Did that young lord actually change the course of the war? Despite the obvious distrust, the atmosphere did not allow for argument. Complicated gazes fixed on Logan, while he himself appeared unfazed. His mind was preoccupied with something he planned to do after the meeting. But even he was taken aback by the next words from Patrick. The greatest contributor to this war, the first in merit, is no one else but my son Logan. I would like to bestow upon him a reward of 300,000 gold. It may have seemed small, but it was an enormous sum, comparable to the entire knightly order's reward. Given the current situation of the McLaine family, it was a massive expenditure. Moreover, as the primary heir of the McLaine family, recognizing his legitimate lineage and merits, I hereby declare Logan McLaine as the official successor to the family. The conversation then unexpectedly turned to matters of succession. Caught off guard by the sudden announcement, the individuals in the meeting room showed various reactions. Young Lord Logan, congratulations. While Heinkel sent out applause with a radiant face, the administrators looked around at each other, emotions mixed. Dwayne cautiously interjected, Lord, perhaps the decision on a successor should be more carefully considered. Ah, come now. You're saying that because you didn't see the young lord on the battlefield. No, even so, based on just one aspect. As Dwayne and Heinkel, representing the knights, started to raise their voices against each other, Excuse me, but I would like to decline the discussion about the successor for now. The calm-faced main party threw in his piece. What? Did I hear wrongly? Did he just decline the succession? Repeating these confused whispers, Patrick, his expression stiffened slightly, asked again, Why? Surely you don't still hold a grudge over the previous events? He couldn't help but recall the happenings just before the war at Logan's coming-of-age ceremony. However, amidst the puzzlement of the lords who were clueless about the reason, Logan shook his head calmly. It's not for that reason. Then, as I mentioned before, the McLaine line is a family of warriors, and my brother Ronian, with his genius in martial arts, suits the role of successor far better than I do. Brother? Ronian exclaimed, and Marianne, who had been downcast, looked up sharply. However, the majority of the listeners seemed incredulous at Logan's words. One must consider how many knights Logan had killed in this war. Among them was even a superior knight. Even if that knight had been injured, for someone to have taken a superior knight's life at the mere age of 20, if not a genius, then who was? Regardless of how it might have changed the expressions of his listeners, Logan continued unperturbed. Ronian became a Force user at just 14 years old. That's a full 5 years ahead of me. No one knows what achievements he may reach by the time he comes of age. You're saying if that happens, mere strength would not be enough for one to become the head of a family, Logan. No, it will. As his father gave the predictable response, Logan inwardly smirked. If Ronian were to become recognized as the youngest Aura user on the continent, as in his previous life, any downside would be irrelevant. Of course, the immediate reason was not that, but something else entirely. I don't need to be a successor. More precisely, it was more advantageous not to be tied down as a successor. The minute he assumed a title, people would pay more attention to his safety, and the so-called successor training, wrapped up in papers and documents, would waste plenty of his time. If possible, he would have liked to establish Ronian as the successor immediately, but that was not feasible yet. At least as a brother, I want to give my sibling a chance. I request that the successor selection be postponed until Ronian comes of age, 5 years from now. Thus, this was the best Logan could do at the moment. Brother. He avoided looking at Ronian's troubled expression or his stepmother's face. Fortunately, his response seemed to impress his father and the lords. Indeed. To think the young lord has changed. Impressive. Even the administrators, once skeptical while discussing meritorious deeds, gazed at Logan with admiration following his remarks. Heinkel, in particular, nodded his head with a look of immense pride. Moved by that warm atmosphere, Patrick responded with a smile. Your thoughts aren't bad. I will accept your will and postpone the decision on a successor for 5 years until after Ronian's coming of age. Thank you. And before the smile could fade away, Logan dropped another bombshell. I would also like to decline the reward.